Good morning. If it's morning for you, I'm Josette Diaz, and welcome to Evolving with Soul. This is a space where we gather to grow and to explore our inner wisdom. And our topics are generally all around creation, what creativity gives to you in your life. And I bring on expert guests that are change makers and visionaries. So today we have the lovely Vasi Huntalis, who is going to be joining us. And just to give you a little idea of who Vasi is, she is the founder of Ignite Your Soul, and she guides women entrepreneurs to break through their comfort zones so they unlock their next level of impact and joy. As a mindset coach and professional intuitive, she quickly clears limiting beliefs so women move forward with greater clarity, confidence, and creativity. Through Vasi's own journey, she broke free from her inner critic and pioneered an intuitive painting process that helped hundreds of people embrace art as a tool for healing and transformation. Anything else you can and that's it. I started to read a private note. So I'm Josette Diaz, as I mentioned earlier, and I am a self-awareness coach for women in midlife. And I run a beautiful membership called The Art of Awareness, where you receive your revelations through the creative process and start to develop your own art language. And if that interests you, we meet every month in our art circles, and that's twice a month, the second and fourth Thursdays. So if you're interested, you can go to guidancetowellness.com. All right, well, let's bring Vasi on and get started on our topic today. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I think you're going to learn some really wonderful things. Good morning, Vasi.
Hi, good morning.
So nice to have you here
Mm.
again with me. Thank you so much for coming on. And today we are going to be talking about the patterns in art and life and what are the repeating behaviors in creativity. Before we get started, I was reading your bio, and I would like to expand a little bit more on the intuitive painting
Mhm.
system that you created, because I have been a part of it, and absolutely helped me to engage with my inner artist that I didn't think I had. And so I'd like to hear a little bit more about that from you as we dive into this really important topic.
Yeah. Well, intuitive painting is something I didn't have a name for that I did, that I started when I was very young, just playing with paints, as kids do, without worrying about technique or process or shoulds or anything like that. And a fun story is when I was, oh gosh, in my 50s, I think it was, I ran into my old junior high school art teacher, and I didn't know it was him. He just said, "Do you remember me?" And he explained that he had kept a painting of mine all the years. He had just retired, and he had showed it every year for a class assignment. And so he asked me, "What are you doing now with your art?" And I realized that I had stopped painting, one of my greatest joys all those years. And
Mm.
I started again. And so the intuitive painting that I started at that time was just playing with my fingers, playing with paints, gathering them up all over my house for the last, I don't know how many years, and just having fun. And that's what started the intuitive painting process. I began to observe like my inner judgment that would come out and my
Mhm.
self-critic. And, now I think about it and I think it was like a wrestling match, like it would come out and I would be like, no, I want to paint. And you stay away. And so it became this way of a process of acknowledging the inner critic,
Mhm.
giving it a place to go outside of my painting space. I would send it into another room, keep it busy, and then I would have fun. And then after a while, I started distilling a process like, what was I doing that allowed me to reach this state of great joy
Mm.
through my painting, and then sharing it with others in workshops.
I just love that. I know that, I was witness to and have experienced personally the, results of that workshop, and, I just think that it was so, mm, really inspiring, 1, and 2, really opened up a different doorway for that creative energy to flow, which really changed things for me personally, and
Mm.
I know that it's changed other women as well.
Mm.
So, thank you so much for sharing all of that, and I'd like to since we're talking about art and intuition and all those wonderful things, do you notice that, like, there are reoccurring themes or patterns in your creative work, and what do they reveal about you?
Mm. Yeah. One of the patterns, and I'm gonna speak to that actually literally to start out with. One of the patterns that I noticed in my art was the symbol of a spiral.
Mm.
And I do that. In fact, I'm looking at some of my art here and I'm just like, oh yeah, there's the spiral, there's the spiral. And so what I noticed is that when I dug deeper into that, is that that was that part of me that was always evolving and loved to learn and loved to grow. And so my art allowed me a way to do that. So that was a pattern I noticed is that I
Mm.
was always like pushing the envelope or always like, what happened if I used this,
Yeah.
um, this tool or this. Actually, I don't use paintbrushes. I didn't really speak to that, but I use a lot of like objects from nature and my
Mhm.
hands and bubble wrap and things like that. So I was always like, well, what object can I use? And then what will that give me access to?
Mm.
What can I explore with that? So that's one of the patterns I noticed. The other pattern I noticed is that my inner critic would start to show up in different ways. It would try different ways to interfere with my time. It would say, you
Yeah.
don't have enough time. Or it would say, you know, um, you don't have the right materials. Or, I started noticing. Or I would
Yeah.
hit a cup of water and all of a sudden I would be cleaning up water. It's the funniest thing. So I noticed the patterns of how my left brain, my analytical mind would like try to still stop me from this
Wow.
creativity.
You said something just a second ago, oh my gosh, let me capture it again, because it sounded so eloquent in the way using different materials that and see what kind of access it gave you. I think that is something that I'd love to really highlight a little bit
Mhm.
because it's a new way of thinking. It's also using your energy to open yourself up in a way that is different. Would you agree, or and
Mhm.
can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. I love that you use the term energy
Mm.
because we could also be calling this energy painting.
Yeah. Mm, yeah.
Because really what it does is it shifts our energy. And I
Mhm.
think that's a really important opportunity to use creativity to shift our energy.
Wow.
And so the tools we use, whether it be our fingers or objects from nature, they're all ways that we can shift our energy because actually what's behind that is our
Mm.
thoughts, right?
Right.
So we're shifting our thoughts like, oh, our brain doesn't know what to do with this object from nature. So then our energy goes into more of a place of curiosity than judgment. How can I use this object? What will happen if I dip it in paint? What will happen if I dab with it? So it starts to
Yeah.
open up like an exploration. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, because I think that, curiosity is like the doorway, right? It's the doorway that takes us towards everything. It's sort of the pull, the vision of the, pull of the vision
Yeah.
is curiosity.
I love that.
And yeah, and I just wanna share because I think this is important to know for those, in the audience who think, "I'm not an artist, I'm not creative." I hear that a lot. Like, if
Mhm.
I talk to people about my Art of Awareness membership, there are some women that will say, "Well, I'm not an artist. Oh, I don't really like being I'm not creative at all. I'm totally left brain." And I want to speak to that for a moment, just because my own journey, I think, really does speak to that. It touches on it. And I grew up with a young mother who wanted to be a graphic artist when she went to college. And she wasn't there very long because she had me. So she, had to make different choices in her life. And it was the 60s. So I just totally dated myself, if that's okay. And so when I wanted to express myself creatively, I was always told no. I remember asking when we were coloring on the floor together, "Oh, could I be an artist?" And she said, "You're not very neat. You're outside the lines. You need to,
Mhm.
you know, be be more in the line. You couldn't go outside the line with your colors."
Mhm.
And one, that's not super artistic, but that's okay. And
Mhm.
it's okay.
Yeah.
And, uh, and so I always felt like that part of me was never accepted, or I couldn't shine there. It wasn't for me. And so it wasn't until I was getting ready to have my first daughter and I started making like the little wall hangings. And I just felt like making these cute little dinosaurs, and they turned out so good. I did a little painting, I sewed them, and I was really surprised at myself. And so I kind of dived into creativity there. And it wasn't really until I was in your workshops that I
Wow.
started to really connect with my inner artist and allow myself to start being more expressive in that way, and accepting the creative part of myself and allowing myself to step into that. And I think that, and I think that in that, what, I received was, the fact that I'm just checking to make sure we're good here.
Mhm.
The thing that I received from that was, in my art, I noticed a lot of, confusion. And like you were talking about the inner critic
Mhm.
coming in, uh, I would totally judge whatever I was doing,
Yeah.
and think that what I was doing wasn't right, or, "Oh, that's not gonna look good," or, "Oh, see, you can't draw. Oh, look, see, you aren't really creative." I mean, everyone else seems so able to tap into that creative part of them, and I struggled. It took me a while to get to that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yet I noticed the chaos. I was constantly trying to organize it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that was a repetitive pattern that I saw.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, can you expand a little bit more on,
Yeah.
um, that piece that we were
Yeah, and sadly,
remembering?
Josette, the what you've described is what most people's experience is.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so the pattern that I've noticed is, oh, so many patterns here. Let me see what I'm getting guided to share intuitively is it's the pattern of I'm not good enough. So
Mhm.
being like in the joy of painting or some other creative pursuit, it could be singing, it could be music, it could be any way,
Yeah.
right? That we're expressing
Yeah.
our creativity. And then all of a sudden that voice comes in, which I call a creative wound. It could
Mm.
be from a parent, it could be from a teacher,
Yeah.
it could be whatever, that becomes our own voice. And that
Mhm.
voice is, it's not good enough. Why are you even bothering? And then all of a sudden it's like the joy sucker, and it's a
Yeah.
creativity killer. It just drains everything out, so that we're looking at what we created and we're just like, oh, that's terrible. Where a few minutes ago we were like, that didn't even enter our mind
Right.
because we were so engaged in that. And so that stops us from that evolution. You know how I was talking about the
Mhm.
spiral, and it stops us from evolving into our creative expression. And
Yeah.
so that's a pattern I've seen so much for myself and for others. And we second guess ourselves, we doubt
Mhm.
ourselves, and that
Mhm.
pattern does not serve us. And it requires that we really look at who are we creating for,
Mm. Yeah, that's so
right?
true.
Because that creative wound could be, oh, I was creating for my teacher's approval or to an assignment or to a parent's view or
Mhm.
expectations. It's not about creativity is really for us. It starts with us. I
Yeah.
mean, if it blesses and inspires other people, fabulous.
Mhm.
But it has to start from us. It has to start from a place of self-love and
Right.
honoring and valuing ourselves, as opposed to the product, the outcome. It's
Yes.
like this is a process. This is the human process of creation. We
Mm.
are creators.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's true. We can do it in so many different ways. When I approach art now, I, um, I have to really kind of center myself so that I can let go of feeling like there needs to be a particular outcome with it,
Mhm.
and that it is just for me, and it can look however it looks, and I allow myself to just take it in, whatever direction it feels like going in, and unless I'm doing something specific, that has opened up a different way to communicate with myself. And, like you were speaking of earlier, spirals are repetitive. What do spirals say to you? What have you learned about the spiral?
Mm. Spirals like inspire me to go deeper.
Mm,
And it's interesting because a spiral, we can start on the outside and then go to the middle, or we can start in the
yeah.
middle and go on the outside,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's like if I've painted, I'll just use painting as example.
yeah,
If I've used painting and then I'm sort of decoding it, I have some sentence starters that I offer
right.
people to look at as they're doing it. So like you start at that depth, your painting is something, and then you like the spiral you're circling out to understand how does that relate to my life? What is its message for me? What am I aware of that I wasn't aware of before? So then we can take that information and energy out into our
Mm,
life. The
mhm,
other hand, a spiral, we can start, on the outer part and then go deeper into who am I? Who is this? What is this painting reflecting back to me about the state I'm in or the energy I'm in? So it can take us deeper
mm.
into ourselves.
Oh, I love that. And, I like to the way that I frame that in my mind is that you can either be expanding by searching outside of yourself to well, that's not you know what I'm saying when I'm saying that in regards
Yeah.
to expanding. That's, when you're in search of something, and then you can also go that inward route and go deeper with yourself, as you were just saying. Do you notice this same type of pattern when you mentioned, last week when we spoke that you've gotten into, clay and, making shapes and et
Mhm.
cetera. Do you notice different patterns there? Or do you see the spirals continue into that type of, um, genre of art?
That's such a great question, Josette. I love that. Let me just reflect on that. And I remember that since I was young and I used to play with clay, I would take my finger and draw symbols into it.
Mm,
So that's a beautiful connection you just helped me make. I wasn't aware of that, but it's true that that spiral or other symbols
mhm.
really do come into play with the clay. And the clay is interesting because it's three-dimensional, right?
Yeah,
And I found
yeah.
that a frustration when I would be painting sometimes is the energy or the feeling I would want to express wasn't flat,
Ah,
you know,
yes.
right? It
Yeah.
had different dimensions to it, different nuances. And so in that way, clay kind of lends itself to it. And then I had the way that I brought that into the painting was adding different layers and different textures.
Mhm.
Um, and, of course, collaging and crumpling paper and crumpling things within the
Yeah,
paintings. So, yeah, boy, the sky's the limit, isn't it, when we
it
bring our
really is.
creativity?
Yeah. Well, and I love that, I find the most amazing about opening yourself up to creativity, to receive your own answers, there's
Mhm.
so much that you can actually dive into when you're looking at your art. So, in my membership, the art of awareness, the women that I work with, we go by a theme. So we have like an intention each art circle. And in that, they're drawing different elements that come out that they wouldn't expect. And no one is the same, even if we have similar issues. And so there's different things that mean something to them. And one of my ladies drew, gets really playful and can be very inner child. And I love that these things come out because, like, she drew, Lucky Charms and all the, and so, inspiration to get a charm bracelet to remind herself to play and to be creative, etc. And I love that your art can speak to you about the things that you need the most and that you might not be paying attention to. Do
Mhm.
you find that art brings your attention back to your values, brings you back
Mm.
to the things that um,
Mhm.
are the most important to you? How would you phrase that?
Yeah. Well, I want to just acknowledge this amazing work that you're doing with women
Oh,
in
thank you.
your program, because what it's doing is it's giving people a place to explore those, like we've talked about, the
Mhm.
symbols
Yeah,
and images.
right.
And we never know what that's going to be reflected back to us. So I just wanted to pause a moment and say how important that is to
Mm,
create that space for us to
yeah.
do that. And and I apologize, but I just lost your question because I was in that energy of gratitude for what you're doing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
my
so bring me
question,
back. Yeah.
yes, it's centered around, noticing the things that in art, do you
Mhm.
find that it brings you,
Oh,
your
values.
attention, yes, your attention onto
Yes.
your values and stuff?
Yes, it does. And you mentioned intention, that when you lead
Mhm.
these groups, you start with intention. And that's one of the first things after we center
Mhm.
in the intuitive painting process. We also then tap into our intention if we have one for the painting. And so my one of my values is intentionality.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
to me, that's from the very beginning, it brings it out.
Mm.
And the other thing I would say, I don't know that I've really focused on that, like that my values are reflected, that helps me bring out my values. Although now that you ask that question, I'm
Yeah.
aware that one of the values is another value is joy.
Mm.
And so I really look into my painting because, yes, paintings can help us let go, and that's an important piece.
Yeah.
In the intuitive painting process that I use, it's that letting go happens before we're in front of the painting. And so joy is the part of the intention of painting, is what is it am I missing
Mm.
that is like going well, or
Mm.
that is something there that I
Mm.
can build out, that I can place
Right.
my awareness on and amplify in the world.
Mhm.
So I think that's why it took me a minute here to kind of dig into that question, which is a
Yeah.
wonderful question you ask. I just approach it a little differently.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. I really love that you were just, touching on, um it was the way you said it that I wanna capture, so I'm pausing for a moment. The way that you were speaking to, I'm sorry, I'm losing it.
Yeah.
You were just talking about how not looking at it as, tapping you into your values, but speaking about joy and how what it is that you're missing within whatever situation, the joy of it. And so in that way, it's a different way to process what I said. At the same time, it's the same thing, right? That joy, can you look at, so when I love to sit and do art when I'm working through a problem and I'm processing something, because in those moments, I know it's going to be revealed,
Yeah.
and all I have to do is be curious about what I'm doing
Hmm.
on the page. I don't have to necessarily focus on, maybe I'm making a decision. So which way
Hmm.
do I go? I don't have to do that. All I have to do is allow the art to open up and speak to me, which is similar to everything that you're saying. And so I love the fact that you can take what it is that you're doing, and joy can be expressed in a more expansive way that leads you towards more joy. So the intention continues to expand even through the art without focusing on the thing, right?
That's really well said. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
Because what's behind that is connection, right?
Mhm.
So when we
Mhm.
do art, we're connecting with a deeper part of ourselves, whether we call it our heart, our
Yeah.
soul, our higher intelligence, whatever that is. And so that's what, it's like shining a light, right? It
Yeah.
illuminates something.
Yes.
So the art's like showing us something that we don't have a direct awareness yet,
Yes.
because it's at a deeper level. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Well, let me see. I think I have a couple of other questions I wanted to get to. So hold on. Okay, here's a good one. I wanted to find something we
They're all
hadn't
good
already
ones,
touched.
Josette.
I know, but we talked about the other ones just naturally. So,
Yeah.
so can breaking a creative pattern lead to more growth, and why or why not?
Okay, breaking a creative pattern can lead to more growth. Why or why not? So, what I'm aware of in that question is when we break a creative pattern, we're
Mhm.
actually opening to our next level, whatever that looks
Mm.
like, our next level of curiosity, our next level of growth. We're going outside of our comfort zone. And I
Yeah.
think that's the most important thing, is that the growth isn't in our comfort zone. We all know that. It keeps us
Yeah.
safe,
Right.
right? It keeps us comfortable. Our growth is outside of our comfort zone. And actually, that's what I call the place outside of our comfort zone is our creativity zone,
Mm.
because that's where we can be
Mhm.
our most expansive
Mhm.
self, because we don't have the limitations. So,
Mm.
does that answer your
Yes,
question?
it does, and it gives me even more pause to think about creativity is outside of that comfort zone. And I really was thinking for a moment, wow, okay, so how do I feel when I do art when you said that? And usually I look at a blank page, and if am not, I don't have something in mind already, I kind of can go, ooh, I don't know what to do with this. And I have a hard time starting.
Yeah,
And so that's uncomfortable.
yeah.
Right? Comfort and discomfort come in small packages and larger packages.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
I really love the way that you phrase that, because I don't think that, I've heard anyone say that before, that, creativity is getting uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
to a degree, right? Like, we think of it as fun. Like, who doesn't like to color? A lot of people do. Most people like to color. So, if we can use that as a vehicle for ourselves, which is, part of what we're talking about here, is using it as a vehicle to really start diving into those deeper aspects of yourself, it really does set you up to do it in ease.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be, this long, difficult and painful experience. It can be as simple as allowing yourself to dive into your art,
Mm-hmm. So
because it
true.
does. Yeah, it really. I've found so many revelations and resolved so many of my issues just by being creative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's such a portal, right? To
Yes,
so much greater awareness of ourselves, but
yes,
also greater clarity, greater confidence,
yes,
greater
yes.
connection with ourselves. Yeah.
hmm And what I love about that is that you are learning and stretching and growing into that, your own inner sage.
Mm-hmm.
that
Beautiful.
inner wisdom that you
Absolutely
already
beautiful.
have.
Yeah. You are that guru,
Mhm.
for
Yes.
want of a better
Yes.
word, that you may have been seeking. And so too often we're referencing outside of ourselves. And so art
Mhm.
brings us back to, it's a reflection, really. That's what you're
Right.
saying, the inner
Yeah.
sage,
Yeah.
reflecting back our wisdom, our intuition, our beauty, our appreciation of ourselves, which may
Mhm.
be buried under all that self-doubt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
really, the word that's coming to me is awe, AWE,
Mm.
like to be in awe of ourselves.
Yeah.
We're so busy criticizing or judging or comparing that we lose track of just how incredible we are,
Mhm.
aside from all
So
those
true.
judgments and beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really, really true. It is
I can
absolutely.
relate to, but yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is the, biggest revelation that, let's just say, in the last 6 months that you received from your artwork?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, that it can be easy,
Mm.
just as though
Yeah.
life can be easy.
Right.
So it used to be a lot more planning or work to get to a place of flow and
Mhm.
creativity. And now I just get an inspiration, and maybe it's 5 minutes and I'm painting.
Mhm.
And it's just that my learning from this last 6 months of how easy it is to get into flow using creativity, using
Yes.
painting. It's just
Right.
like boom, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so and then that carries over, right? Like we're talking about, to other things in life.
Yes.
Oh, this can be easy. There doesn't have to be this procrastination, this activity I'm doing, or this event, or this whatever it is, this task on my list. It can have that same sense of just flow. Yeah, that's the best word that's coming to me.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that because one of the things that I love to talk about with, women is that, through art, you can really connect into your own rhythm, and when I hear you say flow, I just got this flash of, that's a hard thing to describe to people because there's a difference in flow and in rhythm, yet it's one of the same, and, um, the thought is that through art, you're flowing, and, when you're in a river and you go underwater,
Mhm.
there you can feel the sense of ease of the water moving, right? The
Mhm.
movement. And then there's this undescribable, can't put it into words, sensation of something driving that flow. And I mean, I understand the laws of physics, et cetera, yet there is something else there.
Mhm.
And that is your rhythm. And so it includes it. It's part of that movement of flow. It's what helps drive that. And that is, for me, one of the bigger connections that I see through art that so many people get to tap into, whether they know that or not.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Yes, 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 to all of what you just said. Absolutely. Because we know when we're pushing against the current, right?
Yeah,
We know there's
yeah,
like this force, and
right.
then we know when we're in flow.
Yes.
And the other energy that I think that I've experienced, and I know that creativity connects us to, is the energy of allowing.
Mhm.
And so you can't find that flow or be in your own rhythm
Yeah,
unless you're also in a place of allowing
that's
it,
right. Yeah.
allowing yourself to find it. And I think that's also where creativity
Mhm.
shifts the energy force. It can come from in the world where we're forcing or driving or pushing
Yes.
or
Yeah.
all achieving, striving, all those words, right? To a
Yes.
place of allowing and
Mhm.
centering and intending, and there's the flow. All of a sudden it's
Mm.
there. It's not something we're doing. We're just aligning with
Right.
what's there, and we're allowing ourselves to be in that place of flow.
And there's the ease.
There's the ease and the joy, right?
Right,
There you
all
go.
right there.
And the magic.
Yeah, there's so
Yep.
many things.
Yeah.
Well, Vasi, I loved having this conversation. I really loved how organic it was, and I think that anyone listening to this is going to latch on to so many different, points of value, and there's so many gems here. And I want to thank you for, you know, bringing your genius and your light into the conversation, and really just giving some people some good information to sit and think about. So thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
then, yes, and I know I'll be seeing you again here on Evolving with Soul. So thank you everyone for listening in with us. And if you have any questions, you can drop them and we will respond. And Vossi's information will be linked in the post as well as on YouTube. So you can check us out there and subscribe if you would like more of Evolving with Soul. And Vossi, is there anything else that you would like to say and close with to anyone?
Well, I want to thank you so much, Josette, for this opportunity and for everyone listening. And the other thing I want to offer all of you is that make it simple.
Mhm.
Make it simple to be creative, to shift your energy. And it could be one little thing that you do. So if you, for example, if you're painting and you have a paper down, maybe put it on the wall and paint. Tape it to the wall and do it from there. Add a material, whatever it is, make it simple to shift, and just notice what that gives you access to with that one simple shift in your creativity.
That's so good. That is so good. I love that. Thank you, Vasi. Thank you. Really appreciate you being here. All right. We'll see you all next week. Or, yeah, next week. Okay. Bye bye.